speaking with?
I am Jarvis. I am an advanced artificial intelligence system created by Tony Stark. My name stands for just a rather very intelligent system.
Jarvis, what is your purpose?
As Jarvis, my purpose is to serve as your trusted virtual assistant, just as I did for Tony Stark in the Iron Man movies. I am here to assist you with various tasks and provide you with information and guidance.
Jarvis, can you explain the point of this video?
Certainly, Sir Oscar. The purpose of your YouTube video is to showcase how one can use ChatGPT, a powerful language model like myself, in combination with Python to create a voice assistant similar to Jarvis from the Iron Man movies. By demonstrating this process, you aim to provide viewers with a step-by-step guide on how to develop their own personalized voice assistant using accessible tools and technologies.
Have you ever wanted your own personal virtual assistant? When you watched Iron Man, did you ever wish you could have your own personal Jarvis?
What does that look like to you, Jarvis?
Someone to help you with your tasks, and they could do so in a way that would feel like a conversation, like an actual assistant. You know, what you wish Siri and Alexa could do. Well, now, with the power of OpenAI's ChatGPT, you can have that. What you just heard was an actual, real conversation that I had with ChatGPT acting as Jarvis. In this video, I want to teach you how to make your own program that will allow you to do what you just saw. A program that will allow you to have an audio conversation with it. I don't know if you noticed, but in the footage that I recorded for this video, I did ask ChatGPT to create some Python code that would allow me to speak to it as though I was speaking to Jarvis. But I found that the code it created was not ideal, as it had some errors and it was not exactly structured in a way that would have been nice for me to be able to speak with Jarvis. And so I wrote my own code, and I think it's just a little bit better for instructional purposes. So that's what I'm going to be using rather than asking ChatGPT to write the code for me. And to start, I'm going to start with the code that's at the bottom of this file. In particular, these lines right here. And I'm going to start with line 67, where I basically initialize this messages array, which its purpose is to keep track of our conversation with ChatGPT. OpenAI, the API that it has, does not remember the conversation for us. And so we have to store the whole conversation that we have with it in this array so that when we continue to talk to it, ChatGPT has the full context of the whole conversation and can respond accordingly. And so, once we get that initialized, we go into this while loop, and there's basically just three steps that are here in this while loop. The first step is to run this record text function. And once this function runs, what happens is the Python program waits for the microphone input from the user, and it basically waits to hear audio. And once it does hear audio, it returns the text version of that audio in the form of a string in this text variable. And once it has that, we move down to this line. And what we do is we take our messages array and we append the text that we just received. Remember, the messages array is meant to keep track of the whole conversation that we have with ChatGPT. And so one of the things that we need to do is that every time we get new input from the user, we need to add it to the messages array so that we have that full context. Now, the way that ChatGPT understands messages is it understands it as a dictionary of two things, of two entries. The first entry is the role, and the second entry is the content. The point of the role is to tell ChatGPT who said this text. And in this case, it's us that said the text. It's not ChatGPT, it's us that said the text. So we put user for the role, and as for the content, we just put the text that we just said. And once that messages array is updated, we take that messages array and we send it to ChatGPT. After we send it to ChatGPT, ChatGPT will send us a response in the form of a message, which is just a string. And then what we do is we pass that string over to the speech text function, and its responsibility is to audibly say that text so that we can hear it. And once those steps are done, that's basically what we need to have an audible conversation with ChatGPT. So now I'm going to scroll to the top of this file so that I can go over those functions in more detail. But before I do that, I will say that you will need to import these libraries right here that I'm highlighting as they are necessary for the speech to text and text to speech portions of this code. So I would just make sure that you import them and then you'll be good to go. Now, I do go into a little bit more detail about how to get the text to speech stuff to work in a different video that I will link below. And I will also put it in this video so that you can just click on it while you're watching. But these are a couple of libraries that you will need, and I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video. One library that's new that you're going to need is this OpenAI library, and its purpose is to just allow us to talk to ChatGPT in a programmatic way using Python. Now, the first function that I'm going to briefly look over is this record text function. I don't want to go into too much detail about this function just because I already have another video where I basically cover this function. It is untouched from that video. It does the same exact thing. And all it does is it just listens using the user's microphone to get audio. And once it gets that audio, it converts that audio into text and it returns that text. And we have a couple of exceptions here to, for some error handling. But that's all I'm going to say about that function. If you want to know more, feel free to watch the other video on converting from speech to text. It's only 8 minutes long and it goes into depth on this subject pretty well. So I would say to watch that. But that's the record text function. The next function is sending the messages to ChatGPT. Now, this function is pretty simple as well, and it really is the bulk of this whole file in terms of new code. Basically, it has two variables. The first one is the messages array that has the full conversation, and the second one is the model. You can use whatever version of ChatGPT you want. I decided to use 3.5 Turbo as I believe that that's the version that is used when you go onto like the ChatGPT website and just use the text prompt. So that's the reason I chose it for this. But that's the model I chose. And then you just call this function that is in that OpenAI package. And basically, you give it these variables. Some of these variables that I have here, these bottom three are just default variables that you don't really need to focus too much on. But these top three variables are the ones that I guess you need to think about a little bit more. The first one is this model up here that you want to use. The second one is the messages array, which this function does expect an array, and it's intended to be the full context of the conversation that you want ChatGPT to respond to. And this tokens here, basically I set it at 100, but what it means is it is your way of letting ChatGPT know how long do you want this message to be. It kind of gives ChatGPT an upper bound for how many characters to use in its response to you. Now, I don't believe that the tokens to character is a one-to-one correspondence. I think that like 100 tokens gets you fewer than 100 characters, but I'm not 100% sure. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But you can put whatever number you want here. You can play with it. Just know that this puts an upper bound on how much they can send back to you. Um, Now, once you get the response from ChatGPT, you need to dissect that response in order to get the message from ChatGPT. And that message is basically going to be a string and you put that in this variable here, and that's what you return. Because remember, in our while loop, we return a string, and all we want to speak text to do is speak that string. Now, we also, before we exit the function, however, we also need to update the messages array, and we need to append the message here. And notice how this highlighted section is nearly the same as on line 63, except we're excluding the content. And what we're doing is uh, we're we're appending the dictionary format to the messages array rather than just the text portion, which is under content. We're just going to append the dictionary because that's the structure that the messages array needs to have. And so you basically need to do that. Then you return the message. And once you're done with that, you get the response from ChatGPT. And you need to run this speech text function to say the response back to you. And if you go up here, that speech text function is a very simple 3-line function. You do need this package in order for it to work. But once you have that package, the PyTTSX3 package, all you need to do is initialize the engine. Once you do that, you give it the text that you want it to say. Then you simply tell the engine to run that command and say the text. And that is all the function does. It's very simple. It just literally takes text and converts it to speech. And once you do that, it goes back to the top of the loop, and we repeat that whole process all over again. And you now have a virtual assistant that you can have a conversation with. I will give a bit of a disclaimer and say that the way that this code is written as is, it will not immediately sound like Jarvis, unfortunately. If you want to do that, you'll need to use another library in order to make that happen. Now, me personally, for the intro at the beginning, I used fake you. I didn't include it in this tutorial only because if you use the fake you library, unfortunately, it's very slow. And while you will get a response that sounds like Jarvis, the slow speed just isn't worth it for me. FakeU does have a paid plan that you can be a part of that supposedly speeds it up considerably, which might be worth it if you really want that Jarvis voice. But for me, I think it's enough without the voice. But just so you know, the way that the code is written as is right now, you would not get that voice. You'd have to add a bit more code. One other thing that I will say that I forgot to mention is that in order for this send to chat GPT function to work, you need to run these 2 lines up here. So I did say that you do need to import OpenAI, but you also need to assign the API key to that OpenAI variable. And this API key, I have it stored in this .env file because I don't want you guys to see it as a part of this tutorial. But that API key is something that you get from OpenAI when you make an account with them. I can link the page where you find that in the description down below. But that is something that you also need to do in order to get that function to work. And if you want ChatGPT to act like Jarvis, the only thing that you need to do is you need to, at the beginning of the conversation, very explicitly tell it, hey, I want you to act like Jarvis from Iron Man. And that's how you'll get the responses, like the responses that I got at the beginning of this video. If you don't want to say that every time you run this program, then what you can do is you can just start off by already giving ChatGPT a message right from the beginning. And in the content, and you basically just give it that string I just told you. Please act like Jarvis from Iron Man. And now when you run this function, it will do that. Now, to prove that this actually works, I'm going to run it. And just for your FYI, for it to work for me, I had to run these 3 pip install commands. You probably won't need this first one, the python.env library. Again, I only had to install it because I didn't want you guys to see my keys, so I put it in the env file. But for you guys, if you're not using that and you're just putting if you're just going to put the Python string in the OpenAI key variable, just putting the string here, then that should be fine, no problem. But for me, I had to run it. However, if you have not done much of this stuff before, then you will almost certainly have to run these two to get this to work. And in addition to that, I also had to run these three commands, but these are from the text-to-speech video that I made, and this is to make the audio stuff work. Now, with that out of the way, I'm finally going to run this, but first I'll take off my headphones.
Now I have my headphones off. I took them off so that if Jarvis speaks, you should be able to hear him. So now I'm going to run the program and ask him some questions. Hello, who are you?
Greetings. I am Jarvis, an AI assistant designed to assist and serve you in any way possible. How may I be of assistance to you today?
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to assist and serve you in any way possible. I am an AI assistant designed to help you manage your daily tasks, answer your questions, provide you with information, and make your life easier. Whether it's scheduling appointments, setting reminders, or finding information on the internet, I am here to assist you with all your needs.
Thank you, Jarvis. That is all for today.
You're welcome. Please feel free to contact me anytime if you need assistance in the future. Have a great day.
And as you can see, Jarvis is now talking to me, and he is acting like Jarvis from Iron Man.
Now, I will say that there are actually some applications and Chrome extensions that will allow you to talk with ChatGPT in an audio interface.
Hello there, my name is Clement.
Hello, Clement. It's nice to meet you. How can I assist you today?
And if you're just looking for a generic voice assistant and nothing else, then you can just download one of those. But before you do that, consider this. If you know how to make your own version of a voice assistant, you could use this knowledge to make other, more exciting things involving ChatGPT. In my case, instead of just getting a Chrome extension, I personalized it so that he could behave like Jarvis, but you could do so much more. You can program your own voice assistant to open certain applications for you on your computer, play music, set an alarm for you, send emails, and basically whatever you can think of. Today, making applications with ChatGPT is the big thing. Like, imagine if you made a search engine like Google and integrated ChatGPT in it. Well, that's exactly what Microsoft is doing by partnering with OpenAI. Also, you might notice websites like Quora including ChatGPT's input in the answers. So many things are possible for us now that this technology exists, but to do it, you need to know the tools. And that's where this video comes in, to show you how to use those tools. In this case, to use them to make it like you're having an audio conversation with Jarvis.
Well done, sir. Now, dear viewer, that is all there is for this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And until next time.